Welcome back to Recap IT. Today we are going to recap a 2012 romantic sci-fi movie titled Never Let Me Go. Kathy, Tommy, and Ruth were raised at Hailsham, a boarding school, in a beautiful environment. A teacher lets slip that their fate has already been written while they are dealing with love pangs. But before we begin, please consider subscribing to this channel. Now without wasting any further time, let's begin, shall we? The film begins with us learning that a medical breakthrough occurred in 1952, and that by 1967, life expectancy had surpassed 100 years. Kathy, our protagonist, is standing in a hospital, 28 years old and a carer for 9 years, as one of her patients is set to give their organs. We go back to Kathy, Tommy, and Ruth's elementary school days. In assembly, all of the youngsters are singing. Students are reminded of Hailsham's message that they are unique, should not speak, and should maintain good health. The kids participate in sports and are kept fit and healthy. Tommy is too afraid to walk beyond the school's boundaries when the ball goes out of bounds. A teacher inquires as to why, and the students respond that if they did, they would come to heart. The kids are wearing bracelets that they must scan when they leave the school to enter the grounds. Tommy is chosen last and begins to yell in exasperation. Tommy approaches Kathy to assist him, but in a fit of rage and instinct, he strikes her across the face. The children form a queue to see a nurse, where they notice the bruise and inquire about it. They're relieved it's just a bruise. Kathy pays a visit to Miss Lucy, a new teacher who has recently arrived at the boarding school. She is a young woman who is interested in learning more about the children. Miss Lucy informs Kathy that she was attempting to calm Tommy down after he was ridiculed in the schoolyard, and that he shouldn't worry about his lack of athletic ability. Kathy joins Tommy in the canteen for school meal. Tommy expresses regret for striking her. While the kids are watching old movies, Kathy gets caught staring at Tommy. While Tommy is on stage, Kathy and Miss Lucy assist him with his routine, while Ruth watches with a boiling wrath and resentment in her eyes. Ruth and Kathy are discussing late at night about how Tommy has begun to alter. During assembly, Madame Mariclaud arrives at the school. Miss Emily informs them that she will be looking over their artwork and poems. Miss Emily announces that a sale would be held the next day, to the pleasure of all the youngsters. The youngsters have accumulated tokens to spend, and the sale consists of old, discarded toys, most of which are damaged and of poor quality, and which no one wants. It's heartbreaking for Miss Lucy. Tommy spends his tokens on a present for Kathy. Lucy falls in love with a music cassette. Ruth is enraged once more. Miss Lucy has had enough and chooses to disclose the truth to the youngsters. She informs them that they are not typical kids. They don't have any relatives. They will not grow up to do great things. Instead, they will reach the age of adulthood, but only for a brief time because they have been bred to have their organs removed so that others may live. In another timeline, a heartbreaking reality. Miss Lucy is then dismissed from her position. Tommy and Kathy join hands to console each other. Ruth is then discovered by Kathy chatting to Tommy in private before kissing him. Years have passed, and Kathy is preparing to depart by collecting her stuff into a little case. It is here that we learn Ruth and Tommy are still together after all these years. The children, who are now 18 years old, are to leave Hailsham and live in various accommodations across the country until they are old enough to begin giving their organs. They'll be able to survive a bit longer till then. They interact with children from different homes. They will join others who are set to go for the completion centers, where they will begin to be harvested. However, they are now free to enjoy their lives, at least for the time being. A flicker of romance emerges when Tommy joins Kathy on a rainy walk. Ruth taunts Kathy that she has no one when they return to the cottages. Tommy meets Kathy in the barn after having sex with Ruth, when she is looking through a magazine she discovered in the trash. Ruth and Kathy begin to converse, and Ruth assumes that others from the house have discovered her originals, individuals from whom their genes are derived. Our trio tries to be normal in a cafe, but they have trouble adjusting to other people. They have the impression that the regular people are monitoring them while they are in the cafe. Rodney and Chrissy talk about how they'd like to be postponed for a few years, which would allow them to live longer if they're in love. They quickly realize this is a falsehood and are terrified as the process is about to begin. A sorrowful realization, they track down Ruth's original, but it wasn't them. Ruth is overwhelmed with rage, which is quickly followed by despair. Ruth explains how everyone is modeled after the lowest of the low in society. They return home, sad, and use their wrist straps to report in that they have returned. Tommy believes the gallery is real and that this is how they may postpone their donations on another walk. He requests that Kathy inform them that they are in love. Tommy says he isn't cut out to be a caregiver, but Kathy is. Kathy has no choice but to listen to Tommy and Ruth have sex, so she puts on her cassette as Ruth walks in and tells Kathy that she knows she loves Tommy, but that he could never love her and would never leave Ruth. Ruth then attempts to kiss Kathy. The next day, Kathy makes the decision to become a caregiver and begins the application procedure. Ruth and Tommy eventually split up, but it's too late because Kathy has already begun her caregiver training. They begin to disperse in different directions. It's 1994, and Kathy is working with her donors. She knows that one day she'll be able to donate, but not yet. She pays a visit to one of her donors right before they are going to donate. Sadly, they do not survive the donation and die. She then notices a screen with Ruth on it. We learn that 10 years have passed, that Ruth has donated twice, but that she is unlikely to survive a third and will finish her trip. Ruth is feeble and sickly, so Kathy pays her a visit. They are both overjoyed to meet one another. We learn that Tommy has donated twice and is still going strong, in contrast to Ruth, who believes she will die after her third donation. They share a moment in stories as Ruth sleeps in bed. Kathy and Ruth set out to find Tommy, and Kathy runs up to him and embraces him. After that, he visits Ruth. The trio takes one more excursion together to the beach, to the same location where the rumors about the abandoned boat on the sands originated. They are sitting on the sands, reminiscing about their time at Hailsham. I'm looking forward to their near future lives. Kathy apologizes for keeping them apart and asks for forgiveness. She admits that they loved each other and that she was jealous of them and didn't want to be alone. She tries to get them a deferral and gives them the address of the person to whom they must apply for the deferral. Tommy displays his work to Kathy. It appeals to her. Tommy is taken aback. While Tommy sleeps, Kathy reads to him in bed. It's here that she kisses him for the last time before they go to bed together. Kathy goes to the address Ruth provided her, tells Tommy, and the two of them hold hands as he continues to draw. He's displaying his scars. Kathy informs Ruth that they will attempt to defer. Ruth unfortunately falls away during her third donation. After she passes away, her body is simply left in the theater. Kathy and Tommy arrive at the address and greet Madam. She appears surprised. They tell her how much they love each other and ask for a postponement inside her house. Miss Emily, the former headmistress, apologizes and joins them. Now that he's older, he's confined to a wheelchair. She recalls both of them. She explains to them that the purpose of the art was to prove that the children were humans who deserved a chance to live a normal life, but that mankind was unwilling to accept it since people would rather live longer and not have to worry about the consequences of their actions. They understand that deferral is a deception and that it does not exist. It never happened. They leave, heartbroken. Madam expresses her regret for not being able to assist them. That was the only thing they ever wanted to do. Tommy experiences a nervous breakdown on the way home, just like he did as a boy in Hailsham. Kathy wraps her arms around him. We next return to the beginning of the film, where Ruth is watching as Tommy makes his third donation. Before the operation begins, they lock gazes. Tommy does not make it and dies. 2 weeks have passed, and Kathy has lost two of her closest friends. We learn that it is now Kathy's turn, and that her first donation will take place in less than a month. The film concludes with her gazing at a sunset, unsure if her life was any different from those for whom she will donate in order to save their lives. Unparalleled reality's awful conclusion. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, until next time.